Today we're going to get to rounding numbers in our notebook. So we're going to talk about what it means to round a number, and we're going to talk about some words like approximately and estimate, and then we're going to also mention nearest place. Now, if you want to know what these words mean, you can always look in your place value glossary. So the first thing you're going to do is add your papers to your notebook. Today we have two papers. We have a rounding rhyme that we're going to learn, and we have a rounding numbers with a number line. So the first thing you need to do is cut out and glue them into the next two pages of your notebook. So today we're going to talk about rounding numbers, and we're going to learn a rounding rhyme that can help you. But first, why would you ever want to round a number? Well, sometimes in life, it's okay just to know about how much something is. So we could say approximately how much water is in that cup. You don't always have to say exactly how much something is. Rounding numbers makes them easier to solve problems with. It makes the math easier. So people love rounding, but you have to know how to round so that you can estimate answers. So this rhyme will help you figure that out. So when you start with a number that you're going to round, it's going to be a number that does not end with 0. But when you're finished rounding, your number is going to end with zeros. And zeros are the only round number. So let's start with this number, 136,546. So the rhyme goes like this. Find your place. So the first thing you're going to do is find your place. Well, that place refers to the place that you are looking for. So sometimes the directions will tell you where to round. In this case, it says round to the nearest 1,000. So our place is the thousands place. I underlined it just so we wouldn't forget. Sometimes a problem won't tell you, or it'll say something like round to the nearest place. If it doesn't tell you where to round, always just pick the first number and round to there. Okay, so find your place, look next door. So the next thing we're gonna do is look at the number right behind the place that we're trying to round to. So this one is an 8. So in your mind, think 8. And move on to the next part. It says 5 or greater. Well, is 8 5 or greater? Yeah. So since it is, we get to move on to the next step, which is add one more. So instead of having the 6 in our place, we're going to add more and make it a 7. Now, if the number was not 5 or greater, maybe it was a 2, and our answer here was a no, then we wouldn't add one more. We would just leave it the same. But in this case it was, so we add one more. Now the next part says, numbers to the left stay the same. So let's look at the numbers to the left of our place. Those are gonna stay the same. So this number, when it's rounded, is still gonna start with 1, 3, and now the 7 that we just made. So the first part of this number is gonna be 137. And the last part of the rhyme says, numbers to the right, 0 is your name. So all the numbers to the right of our place become zeros. So that 8 is now a 0, that 4 is now a 0, that 6 is now a 0. And so 136,546 rounded to the nearest 1,000 is 137,000. And this is a number that's much easier to add or subtract or multiply or divide with. So let's do the rhyme one more time together. It says, find your place, look next door. 5 or greater, add one more. Numbers to the left stay the same. Numbers to the right, 0 is your name. So anytime you need to round some numbers and you can't remember how, you can always come back here and look at the steps and work your way through this rhyme. But that isn't the only way that you can round numbers. You can think about numbers on a number line. So on this page, we are going to look at rounding numbers with a number line. So we have a new number. here it is, 862,466, and we have a new set of directions. This direction says round to the hundreds place. So if we were going to be doing our rhyme, the hundreds place is right here. There's a 4 in the hundreds place. But we're going to do a little different strategy. So it says, think about the hundreds place. Everything in front of the hundreds place will stay the same. So when we round, these numbers aren't going to turn to zeros. These numbers are going to turn to zeros. So everything in front will stay the same and everything behind it will turn to 0. So here's our thinking. This number, 862,466, is somewhere between 862,400 and 862,500. So if we just kind of ignore the front part and think about the back part, we know 466 is going to be between 400 and 500. So it says label these numbers at the beginning and end of the number line. So at the beginning of the number line, we are going to put 400. And at the end of the number line, we are going to put 500. Underline the 400 and the 500 to help you see and understand. So I didn't put the beginning part, so I'm going to add that in so we can see the whole number. So you can see the 862 part doesn't really change, but that is the whole number. So I'm going to go ahead and underline the 400 and the 500. All right, so what is in the middle of 400 and 500? Well, the middle of 400 and 500 is 450. So label 450 in the middle of the number line. So here's 450. If we were going to write the whole number, it would be 862,450. But again, we can just ignore the first part for now and focus on the last part. Now it says draw a point on the number line where 466 would be. So if this is 400, 450, and 500, where would 466 be? Probably somewhere about there. So we can look at this point and it says, just by looking at the point, you can see whether it is closer to 400 or 500. This is the number you will round to. So when we're estimating and when we're rounding and when we're finding approximate values, we want to get as close to the real value as we can. So it makes more sense to say that this number would round to 862,500 because the actual value is closer to 500. So this is how you can visualize rounding and how to know what a number's value is closest to. Now, if we took that same number and took it through the process of the rhyme, we could still do it. So I'm going to do that really quickly with you. Let's apply the rhyme to this number. So it says find your place. So that's what I did. Look next door. So here's next door. I'm going to look at the 6. 5 or greater. Yes, the 6 is 5 or greater. So we're going to add one more. So instead of 4, this is going to become a 5. Numbers to the left stay the same. Numbers to the right, 0's your name. So this becomes a 0 and this becomes a 0. And our number ends up being 862,500, just like we saw on the number line. So when it's time for you to find approximate answers or round, make sure you come back here and remember how to do it so that you can solve all your problems correctly. Now, before you go, why don't you go ahead and add your page numbers, and then you can go ahead and add your page numbers in your glossary so you can find them easily, and you can add your page numbers to your table of contents. And now we have built out our entire place value notes. Lots of references for you. I'll see you next time.